Solo, a Star Wars story, released in 2018 and ran 2 hours, 15 minutes. I like the text on the screen because it didn't scroll up and away. Also, this beginning makes me think of J.J. Abrams' James T. Kirk origin, only this was not for fun or a joyride like they did with Kirk, but it seems almost out of necessity that Han stole this vehicle. Solo kisses a girl named Kira, and I wonder, how old are these two supposed to be? I feel like I would believe it if they were 16-ish. Kira and Han aren't on the run long before they get caught. Lady Proxima feels like a want-to-be Jabba the Hutt. This whole scene being in a blue light feels strange. Oh, nice. The bad lighting was on purpose because the giant worm-like alien Proxima gets burnt by the sun after Han breaks a window, allowing the light in. Always a fan of movies answering my question with things I enjoy and not frustrating me. Han and Kira in a vehicle speeding away is very well done. Chase scenes, that is something Star Wars seems to generally excel at, whether it be pod races, chases in vehicles, or space dogfights. Anything vehicle related just feels like it's something Star Wars does very well. A droid loses its head and keeps talking. I like that detail. So far, so fun. Many cool looking aliens. One of them is basically a hound dog style alien sniffing out Han and Kira. Cool creatures. That is another thing that Star Wars is always good at doing, or well at designing, that being aliens. The kid playing Han is doing good promo work, which helps me believe he is a top guy. Oh no, the Empire captures Kira. He lost the girl. Unexpectedly, out of fear, Han also chooses to lose himself to the Empire because as he is in distress, we hear Empire propaganda. Han gets the last name Solo as he is signing up to become a pilot for the enemy Empire. Jump to 3 years into the future. If my original guess of Han being 16 was correct, he's now 19 and deep in the battlefield of war in the stars. Interestingly, Solo isn't a pilot, but a grunt on the ground in this war zone, and this young Han reminds me of a young Oz in combat. Too headstrong to keep his mouth shut. Woody Harrelson, who is playing Tobias Beckett, tells Han he needs to get out of here, and Han points out that the Empire are the hostiles in this situation, but his commanding officer doesn't want to hear it. Han has figured out that Captain Beckett isn't a part of the Empire and that he is actually a con man. Solo wants in, even pointing out that Tobias had just told Han he should get out. So Solo agrees to desert the Empire, but in a hilarious twist, this leads to Beckett ratting out Han very low since he had just told Tobias that he was kicked out of the Empire's Air Force for having a mind of his own. I was surprised that the con man didn't accept the help, but I probably should have seen this coming. Confidence is one of my favorite movies, and those guys don't just take anybody in either. The Empire is feeding the traitor to the Beast. Fool me once, okay, but I'm not going to fall for this. Beast will surely be the very famous Wookiee known as Chewbacca. Yep, called it. Han knows how to speak a little Wookiee, and this leads to the two putting on a fun show that leads to them breaking out. It crosses my mind that early on, this movie has one running theme, so much so, I think that it could have been called Han Solo on the Run. Beckett and crew take in Han and Chewie as they argue over which one of them was the reason that the team took them in. Beckett's second in command in this band of thieves, her name is Val. She thinks Han and Chewie are bad picks for the team, but Tobias sticks up for his newest recruits. When Val figures out that Han is on this mission to get money to go back home to his girl, Rio Durant, played by Jon Favreau, likes making jokes about this. Also, this is where we figure out that Val and Tobias are together. No way that doesn't go badly. In this same scene, we learn that Chewie's motivation is to find his tribe that the Empire enslaved. Rio is such a fun member of the team. Speaking of teams, this crew gives me the vibe of the team from Firefly / Serenity. Oh yeah, the makers of this film, they were definitely fans of the Firefly show, for sure. The first mission is a train job, which is precisely what was the mission on episode 2 of Firefly. The Empire tries to stop the team, but then pirates come to steal what the team had already successfully stolen. These marauders failed to get the fuel that the team was stealing. Val dies in this failed mission to get this big payday. Rio also dies. I liked that dude. With the death of both Val and Rio, Tobias has a very well executed fight with the lead raider from the opposing crew that was trying to steal the fuel that Han's crew was trying to steal. With Rio gone, Han has taken over as pilot for the crew. The train job was so dramatic. Val sacrificing herself to save Tobias, and Rio doing his best to help the team, but not being able to. This proved that this team of bad guys are the true heroes in this story. Tobias insists that Han save the thing that they were trying to steal, and not him, but of course, Solo saves Beckett instead. This causes a huge explosion. When they get away, Beckett punches Solo, blaming him and Chewbacca. At this moment, it is revealed that the heist wasn't just for money, but it was for the crew to get squared up with a mob guy named Dryden Voss. Dryden works for the Crimson Dawn, some syndicate, that Beckett and crew owe money to. Tobias tells the boys to leave since Voss doesn't even know that they were a part of the team. They can get away with their lives. Han and Chewie stay. They're here for what the mission can get them. Freedom for the ones that they care about. So, of course, they do the right thing. The trio of good bad guys go to see Dryden, a worse bad guy. Tobias tells Han and Chewie that they do not belong in this fancy bad guy shindig and not to talk to anyone as Beckett goes to see Voss. But while Han and Chewie are supposed to be keeping to themselves, Han sees the girl that he is even on the mission to go back home to save. He is on the same side of things now, the team that Kira is working for, that being Voss. Although I'm not sure if she's on his team or she's his servant at Voss's place of business. Speaking of Voss, he is played by Paul Bettany, so this bad versus worse guy is actually Vision from the Avengers versus Carnage from the Venom Spider-Man universe. That's a fun way to look at this confrontation. Woody and Paul both have so much range. Neither feel like the Marvel characters they play here. They're both very different from the Marvel Studios characters. Kira appears to have a brand on her wrist, and given how we met her and Han, I'm now thinking she may not just be a server, but enslaved to Dryden Voss. Kira, even if she is not free, is very important and knows who Tobias Beckett is, what he was to be doing for the Crimson Dawn. Interestingly, Voss calls Kira his top lieutenant. Is he being condescending? Chewbacca also questions Kira's relationship with Voss, pointing out how he is very touchy with her, and Han says to Chewie that he's touchy also, while pointing out that Kira and Han himself are just friends. Solo is protesting just a bit much. In conversation, we figure out Dryden isn't the top of the Crimson Dawn food chain. There is always a worse bad guy. Han and Chewie show the value they bring to the team for Beckett by proposing a plan that can get everyone squared up from that lost fuel. Dryden sends Kira on the mission, and she takes the crew to get a ship since on the last mission the ship got real messed up. This is when we meet Lando Calrissian, played by Donald Glover. Lando and Han play cards, and both guys try to bluff/con each other. The best part is Solo is wagering a ship that he doesn't have, only for us to find out that Calrissian is wagering a ship that he owns, but the Empire has impounded. After Han loses the hand of cards, Beckett offers to cut Lando into the score. He gets 25%. We meet this movie's Jar Jar Binks, a droid named L337, annoyingly sassy robot, or android, whatever you want to call it. Thank you for being here at Mr. Super Oz. This video is going out, and this channel only exists because I, Oz, founded Gamble Comics, which first release was Everlasting Survivors, a 68-page graphic novel called All Day Long, available now. Follow the link in the description that will take you to gamblecomics.com. While there, you can get hats, shirts, posters, much, much more, but most importantly, the story itself. Coming soon from Gamble Comics, BC Brute. Earlier, I thought Han Solo may be in love with Kira, but he wasn't, because the second he lays eyes on the Millennium Falcon, we see what true love is for Han. The crew that tried to steal from the train job are now tracking Beckett and crew on this new mission. We learn that Han's father was one of the people that made ships, which is what was the inspiration for him to want to be a pilot. The kid in Solo is so happy when the Millennium Falcon jumps to hyperspeed. We see Chewie and Tobias playing an interesting holographic chess-style game as Han walks past them to go find Kira. I enjoy these two together. Han kisses the girl, and of course Beckett must interrupt. Tobias explains that the crew doesn't work with Kira. Obviously Han doesn't get it because Val and Tobias had been together on the prior crew, and they worked well together. Lando and L3 get the Falcon to its destination, and Calrissian asks L3 if the droid, needs anything, and L3 says equal rights. Are we in an episode of Futurama now? Because I swear they had this same similar style robot storyline. With Lando gone, Kira and L3 talk about how Calrissian is in love with the droid, but the droid doesn't feel the same for Lando. Duh, of course the robot doesn't feel what a human feels, because a robot is a robot. Yeah, this really feels like Futurama to me. And the thing is, about the subplot being so strange, is Futurama was a comedy, cartoon comedy, and this, up until this point, has basically felt like it's meant to be taken seriously. Time for the fuel heist. Well, fuel heist number 2 anyway. Hopefully, none of the crew die this time. I didn't expect this. The plan for Chewie, Han, and Beckett, along with Kira, to get into the area of this mining operation is for Kira to pretend like she's important and is trying to sell these workers in Han and Chewie. Kira punches Han in the gut to make a point, but really it was to slip him the key so that they can get free once they're on the inside. Dang, Kira is alone with the mining colony bad guy dude. As Tobias got locked out of the meeting, Han and Chewie thankfully break free. Never mind, Kira is totally okay on her own. Beckett says well negotiated to her. That was a fun little exchange. L3 is very odd. It is both freeing droids while treating them as lessers. I just don't get this character. Han is in the vault and gets the unrefined fuel canisters. Lando is trying to record his life story like a captain's log, stardate something something style. It's kind of fun. The droids that L3 freed are chaotic and the Chaos is actually paying off to help with the heist. I actually think that if they'd have used that motivation for the freeing of the androids, it would have at least made more sense because of it helping to divert attention away from what Han and Chewie are doing. On the bright side, the Chaos that was helping Han and Chewie helps them get the liquid gold out of the vault. Chewie picks up another Wookiee on the way out. I assume this is one of his family he had spoken about earlier, or tribe as he called it. Lando loses it when L3 gets destroyed, but I'm happy to see an annoying character gone. If only this had happened to Jar Jar in Episode 1, I think I would have had a better score for that movie. Never had a doubt, but Han shows he is the true hero when he goes back to save Lando as he's losing it over the fallen L3 android. Qi'ra and Tobias do what they can to protect Han and Lando as they get on the Millennium Falcon. Calrissian gives Solo the blessing to fly her because he's still in distress. I feel like the filmmakers want me to care that L3 is done for, but I am not sad. I am actually grateful. I have a feeling Tobias is going to double-cross Han Solo. As the Empire is chasing the crew, Han says, "I know these guys. I used to be these guys." Talking about the Empire that way is a good line, especially since Solo is wrong and the Empire doesn't stop coming for them. Han flies the Falcon into the danger zone. Solo tells Qi'ra what he needs her to do as his co-pilot, but she doesn't understand, and Chewbacca is the correct co-pilot. He is wise and loyal. Qi'ra goes to help Lando as he is taking L3's navigation system out of the android and putting it into the ship. The crew fly into a space octopus creature with a ton of eyes. It is nuts. As they flew, Han gets them going toward a massive gravity-sucking black hole type thing. To get out of the gravity-sucking situation, Han proposes taking a drop of the unrefined fuel and putting it into the Falcon to give them a boost. So Tobias goes to make it happen so they can live to deliver the rest. This felt both enjoyable, way more than I expected, and the exit gave me flashes of Big Hero 6, and I mean that in a very complimentary way. When the team lands, Solo and Calrissian have a reverse Han and Leia moment where Lando says, "I hate you," and Han replies, "I know." Lando tells Han he never wants to see Solo again. After this, Han asks Qi'ra if she is with Vos, and her answer is intriguing. All she says is he doesn't want to make an enemy out of the Crimson Dawn. Well, that's not very helpful. So you're saying I have a chance? That came to mind when I heard this. The Marauders have come to confront the team, and Han tries to bluff them away by pretending the Falcon is full of backup. Then Lando flies away in the Millennium Falcon. The lead Marauder pirate person takes her helmet off and tries to convince Han they are heroes, or at least rebels against the Empire. Weird, but okay. I feel like Tobias is going to turn on the crew in a way to stay in the good graces of the Crimson Dawn. Oh, look at that. Tobias turned tail and runs, telling Han if he makes it out of this alive to find him on Tatooine. Qi'ra tells the rebels that she knows Han and he'll do what he can to help them, which means that it is now time for the big reveal. Time for Qi'ra, Chewie, and Han to go see Dryden Voss. When they arrive, Voss notices that they don't have Tobias Beckett with them when they're actually short 3 people, Beckett, Lando, and L3, but the team pretends that Tobias died to get Voss his fuel. Dryden wants Han to prove to him that this fuel is pure and real. Solo takes one of the containers out, and Voss believes Han is double-crossing him because, well, I was right. Beckett has already turned on his team, choosing Voss over Solo. Dryden is such a good bad guy. I like Paul's performance. Turns out I wasn't the only one who expected Tobias to stab Han in the back. Han also saw it coming. Beckett doesn't stay on Voss's side long, as Tobias is really only on Tobias's side at any given moment. When Beckett turns on Dryden, Voss tries to renegotiate with Han, but no such luck. Qi'ra kills Voss. Han kisses the girl before attempting to stop Beckett and Solo away. Kira starts robbing Dryden, or is she taking over his place in the Crimson Dawn? I'm not sure. Didn't see this twist coming. Kira is turning Beckett into Darth Maul from the Empire. Is this happening before Phantom Menace? If I'd have realized this movie was taking place before Episode 1, I'd have watched this before I watched those. Also, they only call him Maul. Is he not Darth Maul? Is this Maul just a different character from that same race? Perhaps I'm putting more thought into this than the folks from Lucasfilm did. Remember, this is the company that had Luke and Leia kiss, then the next movie, oh yeah, we're siblings. Tobias tells Han Kira was never in this for him, and yeah, that is correct, but I'm not convinced Beckett was ever forthright either. Solo shoots Beckett before Tobias can shoot him. Smart Han. Solo and Chewie see Kira leave them behind. The true heroes deliver the fuel to the rebels. This was a good 4 out of 5 stars movie. I wasn't a fan of L3 and the whole Darth Maul twist was odd and confusing, but overall it was good. The rebels wanting Han and Chewie to join them, but the boys knowing that smuggling is more of their thing was a fun way to end. Another Lando/Han card game happens. This time Solo has figured out Calrissian's tricks, so Han is able to win the Millennium Falcon. We close out with the boys heading to Tatooine to get in on the job Beckett mentioned. I assume something to do with Jabba the Hutt. I say this because of the knowledge of what was to come for Han in episodes 4, 5, and 6.